I'm an educator with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, here with my co-host.
My name's Jasmine Johnson. I'm also an educator here with Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife.
And our topic today is going to be outdoor survival. I know we do that down at camp, but when we talk about outdoor survival, no matter if you're a wild animal out running through the woods or a wild animal running through your house driving your parents crazy, you need 4 essential elements to survive. You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need space. So we're going to go over those 4 elements and talk about how we can prepare and be ready to go into the outdoors and keep ourselves safe and not have an emergency situation.
And we're going to keep it simple. We're going to run through everything in that order: food, water, shelter, and space. And if you really want to be prepared when you go into the outdoors, preparation is where it's at. You need to make sure that you're prepared before you go out there.
So the first thing we want to do, if we want to make a trip into the woods or out hunting or out fishing, we need to pick a location. Find some place that we can research as far as how far away is it, what are the local laws and regulations if you want to go fish or hunt. Do a little research on what you're going to find out there, what kind of plants, what kind of animals, what are the nearest medical facilities if there is to be an accident, how far is it to the nearest hospital. So all things to take into consideration when you're going to start planning your trip or planning your time out in the woods.
Then once you have all of your plans together, you want to share that with someone. Share it with a friend or a family member. You want to tell them the exact trail that you're hiking, what time you're going to leave, what time you're going to get back. So say you were supposed to get back at 5 and it's 5 and you're still not there, that friend or family member is going to know where to look for you at. And then you want to pack essentials. So when you go, even on a day trip, you want to make sure that you're taking food, water, and shelter. Make sure that you have a flashlight, maybe a compass, maybe a local map that you're hiking at. Make sure you have those items.
Okay, so whenever you're packing, you got your checklist, and everything that we've got on the table is typically on my checklist. Things you're going to need to protect yourself from the sun. If you want sunglasses, once it gets dark, you definitely need a flashlight, some kind of flashlight. So just go through that checklist, and every single item you need, make sure you check that off. Okay, so if you have your essentials, you're going to be a lot safer. But I know through the day, no matter if I'm in the woods or I'm at home, I'm going to get hungry. So what kind of food do you recommend, Jasmine?
So when you're going hiking, you want to think about non-perishable items, things that doesn't need to be refrigerated. So granola bars, energy bars, beef jerky, things that have high calories in them because you're going to be doing a lot of walking, so you need those calories. But make sure it's not refrigerated. Now, if you do have something that's refrigerated, make sure you eat it, within the day. You don't want to wait all week to eat it, so that's not going to be good. So make sure non-perishable items.
Sounds good. I also know I like eating like turkey sandwiches and regular food. You don't have to get fancy and buy some kind of power bars or anything like that. You can have a turkey sandwich. Pro tip to you though, that Wonder Bread that everybody loves, it's going to squish down in your backpack. Maybe take a tortilla, you can wrap it up, have a turkey wrap or something like that. And like Jasmine said, eat that the first day. Don't wait a week and eat some lunch meat that's been left out or that kind of thing. So non-perishable things. And if you want to go out and you want to fish or hunt, we love fishing, hunting, fish and wildlife, right? You want to make sure you're prepared for that. So if, let's say I want to go out and I want to catch what I'm going to eat, and I've got my fishing license, I've checked my regulations and our hunting and trapping guide or your fishing and boating guide. Always pick up one of those. And I went out and I forgot my fishing pole.
Oh, no.
What do I do?
That's all right. Say you have a plastic bottle that you're not going to use. You can use scissors or a knife, and you can cut that up really thin into fishing line. And then if you have a pop tab, you just have to cut one side of it, and it turns into a little hook. So you just tie that on there. I put this rock on here for a weight to sink it down, and now I have me some fishing line. I can go fishing.
That's really cool. That's a great way too, if you find litter or something while you're out hiking, to repurpose that water bottle and get yourself out of a potential emergency situation. But I also know sometimes I don't catch fish. So always bring some extra food with you, candy bars, some granola or whatever, just in case you don't catch anything. Right?
Exactly.
What else we got? If I am going to be hunting, I know that, and when I tree stand, I want to eat a big sloppy lasagna. Is that right?
I probably wouldn't do that because there's bears and other animals and they're going to be able to smell that. So you want to think about things that doesn't really have an odor to them, things that don't really smell.
Okay, so if I'm going to go hunt for deer, something that's got a good sniffer on them, lasagna's probably not the best garlicky smell to let them know I'm sitting out in the woods. And when we do talk about our food and how we interact with wildlife, you never want to feed wild animals. So if you want to go out and go camping or you want to go hiking, you need to think about food storage. And we do have black bear here in Kentucky. We say you need to be bear aware. If you go into an area that has black bear, we have bear-proof containers. It's kind of like a barrel. It's a big, awkward, bulky kind of container with a lid you screw on. It's a little bit tougher to transport that around. I opt for a simpler solution. It's called a bear bag. So if you've got any kind of nylon bag, just like this, doesn't have to be waterproof or anything, what you can do is store your food outside of camp. So you want to keep that away from where you're sleeping. Especially you want to keep it out of your tent because that's going to attract all kinds of other varmints, raccoons and bear. And when they rip into your tent and you smell like a big beef jerky burrito, it's going to be unsafe for you and not good for the bear. So make sure you store your food outside of camp. So I'm going to take my food, my peanut butter and hot sauce and crust flakes. You can't go camping without marshmallows. Now I'm going to put it in my bear bag. And what you want to do, you can cinch that together, go hike somewhere around camp, typically downwind, so the food smell's not blowing into your camp, and you can tie a bear bag. So what I've done is taken my line, you can find a stick or a rock, whatever heavy, throw your line up over a tree branch. So I'm gonna untie this and keep that there. And we're gonna go around once, twice, 3 times a lady. Cinch that down, and you can hoist that bear bag. So it's going to be not up next to the tree because we know black bears can climb, but you're going to have that a safe distance. So there it is. You're not going to have to keep your food there in camp with you. Now, some people may say this is going to spread the scent around more, but I would say it's better than having that food in your camp with you or in your tent with you. So then you don't have to fight off possums and raccoons and all those other varmints who want to get into your peanut butter and hot sauce, right? So keep that stored out away from camp, up in a tree. It's going to make you safer and make sure we don't feed wildlife so they don't depend on humans for food. Okay, so always think about your food storage and that kind of thing. What's next? Besides food, what do we need?
Water.
Water is a huge consideration. Whenever you go out and you think, I probably need a water bottle for today, don't take 1, take 3. We've got lots of different water bottles because as soon as you're thirsty, you've already started the dehydration process. So fill up lots of water bottles. You have 1 for yourself, 1 because Jasmine forgot 1, and then another just in case, just to be safe. So once you go out into the woods, going hiking, hunting, any of that kind of thing, bring that with you. If you do run out of water, you can filter your own if you go to a stream that you know is clean or any kind of natural water source, as long as you look at where it comes from. A lot of Kentucky's got cattle farms, and that water runoff can take cow poop and pollutants and all kinds of stuff down to the stream. Make sure you're not sourcing water from there. Or if you're close to a road where it has gasoline or oil or something like that, you don't want to drink that. But there's all kinds of ways you can filter this water. Some people might use a filter, just a regular filter to get those large particulate out of there. Some people will use chlorine tablets. I personally opt for benzoate iodine. It's cheaper and it does a better job of killing the Giardia bacteria. You don't want to get Giardia because that's a bathroom emergency waiting to happen. Make sure you filter out your water. Just because it looks clear does not mean that water is clean. Okay, so do your research, prepare, do your homework, and then you'll know how many drops, how many tablets, or what kind of filter to use and what area you're going to be in and where the water access is going to be.
All right, so now we're going to talk about shelter. That's our last thing. Now, shelter can be many things, but you want to protect yourself from the elements, from the heat, cold, and rain. So make sure when you do go out there, maybe your tarp or whatever you have, make sure there isn't any holes in it. Footwear selection. You need to make sure that you have good hiking shoes on. Now, say you go hiking and you bought a brand new pair of hiking shoes. You want to make sure that you break those in first, because if you go out there with your brand new shoes on, you're probably going to get some blisters. So make sure that you do break those shoes in. Tarps. There's all kinds of tarps that you can get, or you can use a natural shelter that you've built. Now, if you do build a natural shelter, make sure that the trees you're by isn't dead. That would be bad if a windstorm came and blew it down. Let's see. You want to make sure that you're insulated from the ground. So say you are laying on the cold ground, that cold ground is going to take your body heat away. So make sure you put leaves, pine needles, something down that isn't wet, that's still going to kind of keep you warm at night.
Okay, so what I'm hearing Jasmine tell us is if we want to shelter ourselves, the first thing we want to think is shelter from the rain, shelter from the sky, right? So you want to keep yourself dry, because if you don't, you become wet, you lose body heat a lot faster, right? So at the bare minimum, grab yourself a rain jacket. You can roll it up and pack it with you. That can be considered shelter. You just don't have any natural materials around you. You didn't bring a tarp with you. Make sure you at least keep yourself dry with a rain jacket, right? So we're going to protect ourselves from the sky with either, you want to go see our shelters that we've built, with either our rain jacket, and hopefully we've got some kind of tarp we brought with us to make sure we're not going to spend a cold, wet night in the woods as opposed to being home and warm and safe, that kind of thing. So keep yourself dry, have a tarp. And Jasmine's built this one right here. It's what's called an A-frame. So you can do your research and prepare, learn how to build that before you go out and get stuck in the woods and wet and soppy.
And if you don't have stakes, maybe you're out there and you did bring a tarp and you forgot stakes, you can make your own with sticks, or you can tie rocks around it to hold it down. And that would work perfectly fine. And now we have this other shelter that we've made.
Now, is this an A-frame? What's this called? Can you hear me? Is this isn't called an A-frame. What's this one called?
No, this is a lean-to shelter.
Okay, so it doesn't look quite done. You want to put the some material on top to keep us dry. So big, flat, dry leaves are going to help protect you from that weather. And on the ground, if you're going to do some improvised, natural kind of shelter for yourself, pine needles are good, cedar are good, anything that keeps your body up off that ground. After you're protected from the sky, from the rain, you want to protect yourself from the elements from the ground, because that earth is going to suck heat out of your body. So make sure you're insulated, up off the ground, and not laying down where you're going to wake up in the middle of the night cold and wet. So make sure you've got some pine needles or dry dead leaves, anything to sleep on to keep yourself elevated. So you want to head back to the table?
Yep. Do we have any questions at this time?
All right, guys, I turned the chat back on for him. So let's see. Anybody got a question of things you've seen so far that they're talking about that John and Jasmine are sharing with us today? So open the chat. What about clothes? So I guess the question might be, is there certain clothes, type of material, clothing that you might recommend over others?
Sure. You want to know me?
You can do it.
The clothes that you want to pick when you're out in the outdoors, you're usually going to get sweaty or rained on, one of the two. There's going to be moisture involved. So you hear all these different high-tech shirts with moisture wicking, or some kind of Nike or Under Armour outdoor shirt. That's going to keep you drier. And actually, those materials insulate even when they're wet. So any wicking material is good, or wool. Just those old scratchy wool sweaters are really good if you're out in the outdoors, because even when they're wet, they insulate and they're going to keep you warm. As opposed to a cotton t-shirt or a cotton sweatshirt, once those get wet, they do not insulate you anymore. They're not going to keep you warm or do their job. So something comfortable, but something that's going to hopefully keep you dry. That's the whole point, is try and stay dry.
I'll mute myself there. What about a survival blanket? Would that work instead of a rain jacket?
What?
Yep. It would, if that's the only thing that you have. So in my first aid kit, I have an emergency blanket And it could also act as a tarp, or say you built your shelter like our lean-to, you can use this as a blanket to insulate yourself from the ground too. You'll feel like a little potato.
So, and those are called emergency blankets
Yes.
for a reason. If you don't have your rain jacket or you didn't come out as prepared as you're supposed to be, you've got your emergency blanket.
So a couple questions about, so if you can't find leaves to put in your shelter or to cover your shelter, is there other thoughts, other options they might have? And with the leaves, wouldn't they get wet in the morning from the dew?
Great question. So our shelter, no matter if you think it's going to rain or not, you want to put up a tarp or put up some kind of shelter to keep that dew off of you. That's right. Dew won't collect underneath of the shelter that you made. But if you have a foam insulated pad, that's what, if you go backpacking, you spend a lot of time outdoors, those are great to sleep on. You can use them every time instead of having to round up some pine needles or cedar or something else to keep you up elevated off the ground. Anything that's going to keep you dry and keep you off the dirt.
So as long as we have a roof over our head of some sorts, we should be okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal. Some of them are worried about that food though. So what if a raccoon or a squirrel gets in your food bag?
I'll tell you a personal story. I have gone on a 14-day backpacking trip and we lost our food. I won't get into the details, but even professional dummies make regular guy mistakes. So if your food is compromised or a bear gets it or a squirrel gets it or something like that and you don't have anything else to eat, you need to know the area where you are, your fastest exit strategy, so you don't get stuck in the woods hungry, waiting for somebody to save you.
So what about a compass? Would you take a compass with you?
Yes, definitely take a compass. Now there's different kinds that you can get, but compass would definitely be helpful. And also a map of that place you're hiking will be very useful.
As long as you know how to use it.
All
Yes.
goes into preparation. Prepare, educate yourself how to use map and compass, where you're going, what you're going to see. If you can identify plants and animals, like what a white pine looks like for pine needles, or what pawpaw leaves look like for a roof, so you got a big flat leaf to cover you for the roof, it's going to help you out.
What about a hatchet or knife? Would you carry one of those with you?
Now, this is something that we were going to go over only with parental supervision.
Yes.
A pocket knife can help you sometimes with a parent. A fire starter can help you sometimes with a parent. You can never use them without adult supervision, but they can go into your first aid kit or your emergency kit for those situations.
Because you definitely don't want to make the situation worse if you're lost in the woods. Now, Sierra wants to know, can you sleep in the trees?
What do you think?
I probably wouldn't.
If you have a hammock, you might be able
Yes.
to hang your hammock between the trees, but sleeping in the trees like a possum, like hanging upside down,
Wouldn't be safe.
I don't know, Sierra. Yeah.
I like the idea, but again, we don't want to make things worse if we're caught in the woods and didn't expect to be there. But good deal. Let's see, I missed any.
Something we forgot to mention too is if you are in an emergency where you think you are absolutely lost, you have no idea where you are, stay put. So let somebody know where you're going to be before you go out and leave, but stay where you are. If you are moving around, walking in circles or figure eights, it's just going to make the rescuer's job a lot harder to come out and find where you are. So just stay put if you find yourself in that situation. But when you prepare, when you educate yourself and you know where you're going and you go through your checklist, you've got all of your supplies, hopefully you wouldn't find yourself in that situation.
And if you do get in that situation, one thing that will help you the most is you have to stay positive and have a good attitude. If you start to get negative and you get to panicking, that's where things go wrong. So make sure you just stay calm and you keep a positive attitude.
Yeah, it kind of ties into a question here. What if a kid was all alone in the woods? Of course, the big thing I guess I'm hearing you say is the best thing is stay put. Stay put so they can find you easier and don't make things worse again. What about medical supplies? What would you take with you?
As far as medical supplies, Jazz has a great first aid kit here. You want to walk them through it?
Yeah, I got this at Walmart, but it comes with a lot of things. It came with an emergency blanket. It comes with Band-Aids, alcohol wipes, a cold pack. Comes with little pliers if you get a splinter too, Q-tips, lip balm. That's very important. So yeah, I would purchase one of these.
So any first aid kit built for the outdoors is going to have some of those essentials. I personally take some allergy medicine sometimes, just in case. Benadryl is good. If you're allergic to bees or anything like that, have some Benadryl. And I'll give you a pro tip. On my water bottles, I wrap duct tape around them, because we all know duct tape can fix just about anything, but we don't have space for a big bulky roll of duct tape to take out. This is great for if you have blisters. You got new hiking boots on and it gave you a blister, you can cover it with duct tape. You can fix buckles. So everybody knows, if you can't duck it, try something else, right? So, yeah, questions?
Would you use the buddy system?
I would, yeah. I personally don't ever go hiking alone. I want to make sure I have someone there, because if something does happen, maybe you break your arm or, you break an ankle, that person's going to be there to help you out. So I personally always have someone go with me.
Sure. It's always great to be in a group.
Yeah.
You can bounce ideas off each other. And if somebody forgets something, like a water bottle or Band-Aids or anything, you help each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of ties back to, even if you are alone, making sure somebody at home knows where you're going and what time you're supposed to be back. Exactly. That's your buddy too. Sierra's coming to all kinds of ideas. She wished they made foldable duct tape. Wouldn't that be handy?
Foldable duct tape?
Yeah. So you guys share the water bottles. Somebody's asking, would a Canteen maybe be better, or would you rather, or what would be better maybe to carry, a Canteen or the water bottles?
Whatever you prefer. Any water container, water bottle, Canteen, terracotta, wherever you put your water in.
Whatever you got, use.
Right. Better than not having water at all.
Yes.
Let's see. Do they make, or can you get like bear proof, like coolers, like Yetis or something like that? Is there anything like that out there that could be used?
Yeah, they can be used for that. Say you're going on a backpacking trip, you don't want to carry that cooler around. So maybe if you're going camping with your family members or friends, you can use that, but I would still keep it pretty far away from your tent.
Yeah, some of these Western Kentucky kids are going right now. We have bears. Where? But
all through Eastern Kentucky. Pick up your Kentucky Hunting and Trapping Guide to see the regulations on where you can go find bears if you want to go hunt for them.
Yeah, in some places there, they have the bear-proof containers at the campgrounds too that you might be able to use.
Yeah, trash cans that are bear-proof, that has a latch. Make sure when you throw your stuff away, when you're leaving, that you latch that back. Those are there to help those animals. We've done a lot of work in trying to protect bears from human food, because after they get habituated to Cheetos and junk food, they really like the way that tastes. So do your best. Don't feed wild animals, especially bears.
Would it be a good idea to boil the water to get the germs out?
Yes, that's a perfect way. If you don't want to get the iodine tablets or a filter, boiling water is the best way to purify the water. So yeah.
Something else I forgot with iodine. If you're allergic to shellfish, there's a good chance you're allergic to iodine. Don't use that to purify your water. So something to keep in mind.
All right. So now a couple more worried about bears. Would firing a gun scare off the bears?
It could. That could scare off bears. You want to be safe, obviously. If we are going to have adult supervision with matches and pocket knives, obviously you want adult supervision if you've got a firearm with you. But usually black bears aren't looking to be any danger to humans. They just want your food. So they're not going to eat you. They won't eat your hot dogs. So again, store your food properly and you won't have an issue.
All right, I got a private message here asking, so if I don't have a gun or anything like that and I happen to be hiking and there's a bear in the trail, what should I do?
Big. Black bears, they're kind of timid animals. So what you want to do, wave your hands, yell at it, scream at it. If there's a rock or stick, throw it at it. Just make yourself look bigger than what you actually see. Just make yourself look big. Yell at it.
Yep.
I know that black bear encounters happen just because they were surprised. If you're walking down the trail or you're out in the woods somewhere and you're not making any noise. So just make yourself known. If you're talking to your buddy when you're walking down, or you're singing a song, or you got any kind of noise that you're making. So they're going to know that you're in the woods a long time before you find out they're in the woods. They're going to be able to smell you, see you, hear you coming through their stomping grounds.
Again, it's a private message. Can I outrun the bear?
No.
No, black bears, that's not what you want to do. They can run up to 35 miles an hour, but once Jasmine said, you want to look big, say, hey, bear, get out of here. Show them that you're not going to give them any food. And what you can do is step backwards to try and get away from that black bear if you're close to cubs or anything like that. So step backwards on the other side of the trail, step backwards towards a pickup truck to get yourself out of that situation, but do not run.
Yeah. Hey, John, do you go to Rock Creek Elementary?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Griffin's saying that you told him that a fed bear is a dead bear. He paid attention in class.
That's right. Griffin's my man. Fed bear is a dead bear because we said if that bear gets used to people food and becomes a nuisance in town or starts breaking into cars and houses, that kind of thing, we as a department either have to relocate that animal or we have to make sure it's not going to be a danger to people. So when you're feeding those animals or feeding black bears, it's actually really bad for them. So fed bear is a dead bear. Don't feed it.
So if you put water in a water bottle, in a clear water bottle, and set it in the sun, will that purify it?
What do you think?
No.
No, ma'am.
Doesn't get it hot enough to kill the bad stuff in there. I'm scrolling back up through here. I'm checking to see if I missed questions. All right. Oh, somebody was attacked by a squirrel at a zoo. That's unfortunate. Guys, did I miss any? If I missed one all up in this chat, y'all hit me back up with it again. There was several of them coming in there. Yeah, we think getting attacked by the squirrel is kind of funny, but they didn't. So the number one thing, okay, I'm getting a few private message ones. So is the number one thing you're saying is stay put. If I was to get lost in the woods, the best thing, number one thing I should do is stay put, right?
Yes, ma'am. The more you move, the harder it makes for rescuers to find you. If you do not know where you are, do not try to find your way out because you're just going to get more lost. Stay put.
Is water or food more critical?
What do you think?
Water.
Water's definitely more critical. You can live a lot longer without food than you can without water.
Only 3 days. 3 to 4 days.
So how long can you go without food? Then another follow-up question.
But at the end of those 3 days without water, you're going to be real miserable. And at the end of 2 weeks without food, obviously, you're going to be real miserable. The way to not get in that situation, prepare. Make sure you're ready before you leave the house.
So they think you can go without food about 5 days.
Okay. Well, 3 days. I don't want to test it.
Yeah. Water is more critical than food. But, all right, guys. Let's see, is there any question? Can you make markers on your way on the trail to help find your way out?
Most trails are already, if you go to a state park or a national forest, they're already going to have trails marked for you.
So it sounds like that question is if they're lost and they're leaving like breadcrumbs, like a trail to help rescuers get to you, don't do that. Just stay lost. Stay where you are.
And what would you do? What if there are snakes or other venomous or poisonous snakes out there?
I don't know. What do you do?
If you see a venomous snake, just leave it alone, walk past it, and you'll be fine. The main reason people get bit by venomous snakes is because they're trying to mess with it. They're trying to poke it with a stick or pick it up. If I were a snake and someone's, poking a stick at me, obviously I'm going to get mad too. So just leave it alone and you'll be fine.
Okay, here's a fun one. So should I take something like a whistle or something to make noise with if I was to get lost so people could find me?
It's an excellent idea. My compass down there has an emergency whistle on it, so you can signal for help.
And here's one I've heard too before. Again, I'm getting some private message things here, is that the way to signal for help with making noise is to do it in bursts of 3. That's a universal signal of help.
Yep.
That is also true.
Yep.
3 loud bursts.
Somebody paid attention to one of our classes, it sounds like. Yeah, guys, don't grab the venomous snakes. Don't grab a snake, period. But and I like some of them are fixing it here where someone may have mentioned that it was a poisonous snake, that they are actually venomous, not poisonous. We kind of hit that a couple weeks ago, I think. Can you eat grubs?
You can.
Okay.
How
It's
hungry
not
are you?
good, but if you were in a dire situation, you want to eat grubs, things like that. Berries, I would stay away from those unless you really know how to identify them, because some berries can make you really, really sick.
So another reason to know how to identify your plants and animals. If I found a grub or a nightcrawler, I'm probably going to put it on Jazz's hook that she made and try and catch a fish instead of eating the bug.
Yeah.
I want to eat the fish.
All right. Well, they're still thinking of some questions. Is there anything on that table we've missed talking about so far already?
A lot of educational material. Study up, educate yourself before you go out on the areas that you're going. You need knots, or you need to learn about hunting, canoeing. Something that I also take with me that we haven't talked about, that just because we're in the modern world, is my phone. A lot of technology, a lot of safety features, and just taking a phone with you.
All right. And yeah, a couple people asking about the water again. So yeah, guys, I think this is one I think we've answered, but it's been asked a couple different questions, so somebody missed it about boiling the water. If that would make it safe to drink.
You can boil the water and kill those germs in there, but you either have to have a camp stove with you or make a fire or that kind of thing. If you take chlorine tablets or iodine or a filter, you don't have to worry about heating that water. It's just a little bit easier to simplify the process.
And Sierra thinks cricket legs dipped in chocolate are awesome. Yeah, I'm not coming over to eat anytime soon. Just saying. Although I do like chocolate. So Griffin wants to know if I'm lost, and I guess he's thinking we're in a survival situation. Do I really have to worry about the hunting and fishing regulations?
I don't know if I understand the question. If you're lost, it's
Yeah.
If it's a true survival situation, do I really have to worry about the hunting and fishing regulations?
I think I'd give a pass. If you're lost out in the woods, you need something to eat, and you can catch a fish, I'd give you a pass on that one. But if you are out there in that situation, you need to remember, just prepare and not find yourself there.
Have you ever used a filter straw to get clean water?
You ever use a filter straw?
I have one, but I've never personally had to use it yet. So it's just for emergency situations.
Yeah.
But I do have.
So can you guys clarify we mentioned snakes, and it always gets attention. Are there any snakes that would be considered poisonous?
Venomous.
Yes.
There. John, what's the difference between poison and venom?
Okay, so if you have something that's poisonous, it is ingested. It goes into your digestive tract. You have been poisoned. If something is venomous, it directly injects venom into your bloodstream. How to remember this is poison, you bite. Venom, they bite, right?
Yeah, a couple of questions with the water. Yeah, guys, we're saying that if in a worst case scenario you are getting water from the stream, it does have to be cleaned in some way. Boiling it's an option. The treatments John showed you is another option. There are things out there that can be used, but it does need to be treated before you ever drink water out of a stream. Several different questions popping up about that. Even if it's out of a spring, even if it looks clear, does not mean it's actually clean. Yeah, lots of people asking about that water. So, yeah, and filter straw again. Yeah, there are filter straws, different brands that are made for that. That is one option. All right. Other survival questions for us on our shelter, our food, our water. And if you guys got anything else we missed on the table, they're jumping back to snakes again. So how to tell a venomous snake from a non-venomous snake?
Well, we've got a ton of different kinds of snakes here in Kentucky, but we've got 4 venomous snakes. So if you look online or look in any kind of fish and wildlife information, you'll see those 4 venomous snakes, including the copperhead, cottonmouth, timber rattlesnake, and the western pygmy rattlesnake. Everything else is going to be non-venomous, but something that they've got in common is the shape of their head. Looks kind of like a heart. So they have these 2 big lobes of venom there in their head. So their head's going to be a little bit different, where a non-venomous snake, they've got their head in line with their body. It's all the same. Their eyes are going to be a different shape. A non-venomous snake has a circular pupil like you and I have. A venomous snake's got a cat-like pupil, a vertical pupil. And then a third one's tougher to see are the scales on their tail. On a non-venomous snake, they are alternating. It's like a zipper going together down their tail. On a venomous snake, it's just one band of scales going down their tail. Now, because you know all these details, that does not mean I want you to go up to every snake and pick them up and put them in your face and say, "Are you venomous?" Right? You don't have to pick these guys up. You can tell from further away. Leave them alone. They are friendly, but they don't need to be cuddled and hugged on or anything. So leave them alone. You won't be bit. That's how you can identify a venomous versus non-venomous.
All right. And I think these guys are going back and forth about a couple things here. There are a few animals, not just snakes, different creatures that if they eat something, it can make it toxic for another animal to eat. Maybe example we have here might be the monarchs. But they're referring to snakes, a couple different snakes. That is possible, guys. If an animal eats something that's toxic, it can make it toxic to be eaten by something else. Is that right, guys? You want to add to that?
That is true.
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions about how a venomous snake bites something and injects venom and then eats that, because it's going through their digestive tract. It's not going to bite itself and inject itself with venom. It's going to be diluted enough that they can still eat that prey after they kill it with their venom.
Yeah. A couple people are bringing up a couple different animals that eat things that are toxic, which means then if they get eaten, it makes them toxic or makes animals sick if they were to eat them. So, all right. I think we got that one cleared up. All right, guys. A few more questions. Anybody got one for us? And let's stay focused on our outdoor survival. We mentioned snakes, guys, and they were off and running. Snakes and bears today. All right. If I missed a question, campers, I didn't mean to. Type it back in again. With lots of chat popping up on the screen, I may have just missed one, and I didn't mean to. Annabelle, what you got, dear? Just type it in the chat for me. Annabelle's raising her hand, but... Can you make a fish or crawdad trap out of a Coke bottle, I guess, or any kind of plastic bottle?
So I actually made one, but I forgot to bring it. If you get a 2-liter, a plastic 2-liter, cut the top off of it and then put the top in backwards. Put some crackers or some kind of bait in there. The fish are going to swim in that, and then they can't get out. So yeah, repurpose trash.
Yep. Can you, somebody asked in private, can you show them the hook you made with the bottle tab or the can tab while ago?
So you'll just cut the middle part off and the part to get the hook sharp.
Yep, so right there, so y'all can see a little closer. Guys, if you're raising your hand, please just throw the question up in chat. Let's see, they're off and running again. What would be the safest place or way to start a fire?
That is a complicated question. The safest way to start a fire is under adult supervision. The safest place to start a fire is where you are not around other things that are going to burn, like a big pile of dead leaves or any other dead material that's going to catch. So you want to make sure you cleared out a space in the dirt or in your fire ring with an adult, and that's the safest, best place to start a fire.
Yep. And Jasmine, can you show them again how you built your tent back there? They want to see a little closer if they want to try to do one in their backyard.
Okay. So this is what's known as an A-frame tent. That's because it looks like an A, right? And you're gonna have a taut line running through the middle of it. Drape your tarp right over it, so over the middle. And if you stake your line out using sticks, using rocks, anything you want to use, you can make a good wide footprint to keep yourself covered and safe out of the elements. So you want to see the tarp one, or do they want to see the natural one?
They asked about the tent. We can do both since we're back there.
So this is a lean-to because we just have one main piece going between two trees. And if you build one in real life, you need to put more material on top. Put more pawpaw leaves or some big flat leaf or any kind of pine needle, and put some kind of insulator underneath. So when you get underneath here, you're raised up off the ground and you don't have that ground sucking the heat out of your body. Any questions about them?
Yeah, I think they just want to see, a couple people want to see them a little closer so they could, maybe if they want to build one. We mentioned with food about berries not being necessarily the best choice unless you absolutely know for sure what it is. Can you give us an example of something, a poisonous berry or one that we wouldn't want to eat?
You got that one? I honestly am not really good at identifying edible things in the wild. If you all want to look that kind of stuff up, they've got tons of books on mushrooms and berries and all kinds of things you can forage for. They exist, but you need to be very rehearsed and very knowledgeable before you try to start sourcing your food from the wild. Okay?
Because like we said, they can make you very, very sick, and sometimes they look very similar. So.
And really, you should not plan, if you are going out camping or spending any time in the woods, there's always a chance you're not going to catch a fish, or you're not going to find the right kind of forage, or you're not going to take a deer that day. So you should bring something with you. Don't plan on nature providing everything you need.
Example somebody threw up here would be like mistletoe or holly berries. Would be examples if you wanted a different example of something that berries you would not want to eat. All right. Let's see. Did I miss any other ones? One random tangents about poison dart frogs, but we're going to stay focused on Kentucky, guys. I think we about got all the questions. If I did miss one, like I said, you guys throw it up in chat, or if you were raising your hand, please throw it up in chat so I can catch it here real quick. Jasmine, John, anything you guys want to add here in the last couple of minutes?
Thank you all
Yep.
for the afternoon and learn a little bit about outdoor survival.
Yes.
And if you go out, just make sure you plan and you prepare. That's the main thing that's going to keep you safe. Plan and prepare before you go hiking or camping.
Good stuff and cool stuff today. I like that fishing line you made too. All right, I think we got about all the questions. So to go on and kind of wrap it up, I do want to give you all a heads up. The next few weeks, this was originally going to be our last Zoom together because we thought we'd be starting school here in the next couple of weeks. But since most of us are not going back to school now for a few weeks, we're adding more Zooms. And I may have mentioned, if you were in the Zoom last week, I kind of give you a heads up. Tomorrow I'll be sending out the email. We actually are adding 3 more Zooms. So since you guys are with us, we'll go on and tell you up front what they are. Next week, we're going to jump back to Camp Webb. So if you're in that Eastern Kentucky kind of area, that's your camp. We'll be over there again. And a lot of people ask us, how do we know what we know? So they're going to show you some of the techniques, some of the things our biologists do to learn about the different animals we have in Kentucky. We're going to jump back then the next week to Camp Curry. We'll add 3 more Zooms to our schedule this year. We're going to add back to Curry here in Western Kentucky, and we're going to do kind of a fishing 101. Kind of give you some helpful hints about fishing. And then we're going to finish up again at Wallace on our 3rd week in August. And they're going to hopefully maybe show you a little bit more about wildlife ID, maybe even show you a few critters they might find around that camp. So just to give you all that heads up so you all know more than everybody else right now. But the email will be coming out tomorrow. So that way you all will be able to see the list of the different topics. We'll send out the registration for the next Zoom web, which is the one learning about our biologist. And so again, since you all are with us today, I'll give you another heads up. Originally in our campaign stuff, we said that August 1st was going to be our deadline if you were trying to get all your virtual patches. And because, again, we're not going to be back in school for a few weeks, or at least most of us are not going to be back in school for a few weeks, we're actually going to extend that into the middle or end of August. So if you haven't quite got all your virtual camp stuff done, you got a little bit more time to get caught up on it and get it done. If you do complete all the virtual camp patches, then we'll actually mail you that real patch. So you'll get that. See any what is the name of the fish you are most likely to catch? The one you're fishing for. You never know. Yeah, so we'll get some more weeks in there, guys. We're glad you're with us. Catch the email tomorrow. We're gonna keep Zooming with you guys through the start of school. Thank you all for letting me hang out with you all today. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jasmine. A lot of cool stuff today, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Sounds great.
Be safe. Have fun in the woods. Bye, John. Bye, Jasmine.
See ya.